Welcome back. The fourth industrial revolution is fast changing the nature of work around the world. This development is displacing unskilled workers and creating demand for reskilling and training for new types of jobs. South Africa shares this problem, but the country has an even deeper challenge. The underperforming education system and high unemployment rates, which were addressed at the Job Summit most recently, are the major concern. The Department of Higher Education and Training has been wrestling with a range of issues, which include fee-free education for the majority of poor South Africans. The money for this has led to underfunding for technical training and skills training. The Deputy Minister of Higher Education, Buti Manamela, is with me on the program to discuss this very matters, and welcome.
Thank you very much, Tim.
Pleasure. It's been a long time, as I said earlier on,
yeah.
right? It's what, around 20 years or so?
Yeah. From the Young Communist League.
Your days as Secretary of the Young Communist League.
Exactly.
But here you are, I'm holding you responsible today,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Now, the whole story of free tertiary education, most welcomed.
Yes.
But it's not as simple as it seems, because many people were made to believe that you just allocate money and problems will go away. And we see with the problems at NSFAS, and I'd like you to expand a bit more on what was transpiring there. But what is the experience so far with free tertiary education?
Look, I mean, firstly, this has long been in the offing. I mean, even in the days when we're still in the Young Communist League, one of the key demands in terms of education was access, linked to quality and all other stuff. And last year, government then, announced fee-free higher education. And so who qualifies? It's essentially children whose parents' joint income is less than 350,000 rands, and then they apply to the NSFAS, and then they get granted. They must also be granted a space by a university or a TVET college of their choice, and then they'll get the funding. But I also have to underscore the fact that this is not free, so students still have the responsibility to pass. We're crafting a bill of responsibilities as the department, which we will be taking out to all the students. And we also expect them, upon completion of their degree, that they will also work for our country, our economy, and help to build this country. Now, we had some challenges at the NSFAS. Some students allowances had not been paid because what the grant or bursary covers is transport, boarding, and catering and tuition and all of that. Now, so universities were paid the tuition of the students, but the allowances for their transport and boarding and all of that, there were some students who were not paid. When I checked in August, before we put in the administrator, it was to the tune of 65,000 students who were not yet paid, and that's why you saw problems at Univern, at Teflo, and various other institutions. Now, progress has been made with the introduction of the administrator now. More than half of those have now been paid. In fact, I'm quite confident that in the next month or so, the backlog would have been wiped out. And I think that's crucial. We've got to accept that this was trial and error. This was the first year from a system that was only accommodating less than 100,000 students to now, more than 230,000 students at universities, and even more if you include
I'm interested in what you say you're working on, the bill of responsibilities that you called it, right? Tell me a bit more about this, and when is it going to be made public or effective?
Look, we actually finalizing that. We're consulting with the students' organizations and various other sectors within the university sector. Any South African should be concerned that, if I'm going to be paying taxes and you use the tax to take a child to university, they have to pass. Otherwise, it's a wasteful expenditure. We worried that the dropout rate at universities is close to 47%. Now, that's alarming.
That's almost half of the
exactly.
Dropout, which year? First year or second?
Mostly at first year. Mostly at first year.
half of the students.
Exactly.
47%.
So, yes.
Okay.
So that's a combination of dropout and failure rate. And there's a combination of reasons for this. It's psychosocial support. You're coming from, Mulechi, you're going to study in Cape Town, you don't know anybody. So those kind of support. But it's also wrong career choices. It's also the support that the universities and TVET colleges should be providing to students. And basically also acclimatizing to university life.
And of course, the base from basic education.
The base from basic education is also a very crucial element. And so the department is working on a set of interventions as it relates to psychosocial support. But what we also want to inculcate in the students is that when you go to university, when we give you this bursary, you have to work hard, because 80% of the work has to be done by the students. So the idea that it's free need to be diminished. And from next year, part of the things we'll be doing is, as part of the orientation in universities, they will also be taken through this bill of responsibilities by students and what's expected from them. Not by.
So is it effective from next year then?
No. So remember, so all the students who from this year have qualified for fee-free higher education will be bound by that bill of responsibility.
Yes. So I just want to understand.
But it will just be announced. So everyone who's in the system is bound by that.
Meaning what? When you receive support, right?
Yes.
You have to sort of sign a contract of sorts according to that bill of responsibilities.
Look, so the engagements have not gone to the extent of signing a contract, but what we want students to understand is that there will be repercussions if you do not work hard and pass. So what we're working out with the students' organizations, with everyone in the sector, is what sort of repercussions are we talking about? What consequences? What remedies are we going to put in place in case students fail?
Now, I learned that, notwithstanding the fact that it's a positive thing to provide the financial support to particularly university students, what the government did was to take money from the TVET colleges, funding for TVET colleges, in order to make up for the shortfall, because frankly, it was not budgeted for. No,
in fact, Tim, the TVET budget benefited the most in proportion. Proportionally speaking, from the increase in fee-free higher education. Of course, there's been a whole range of other arguments, we had to increase VAT and all of that. But, our focus as government now is we want to see TVET colleges work. So over the next 3 years, we've put in 4 billion rands, which is going to go to infrastructure maintenance, and uplift in TVET colleges. We are also going to be increasing the numbers. We want to see close to 1 million young people participating in TVET colleges. We're at 750,000. The target was 2030, and we think we'll meet that target before.
But where did the money come from? From the SETAs, or you did not divert?
Well, no, the money that came from, so about 2 years back, when the president announced a 0% increase, I don't know if you remember that.
I remember that,
So money which was meant to support the postgraduate studies, meaning your master's and PhD studies, was then used to fund this. And some money was taken from the National Skills Fund to fund this. So it was not money that was within the national fiscus. And so as part of the discussion building up to this announcement, the president then asked Treasury, our department, and a whole range of other departments to work out on solutions on where we go. So especially areas where there's been underspending, that's where the money was, mobilized to be. And most of the money, has come from within the higher education and training sector.
I've also heard stories from the previously disadvantaged institutions that were mostly based in the homelands, that the infrastructure-wise they are underfunded, and that there's still a lot of work to be done there. What is the backlog like? And with the introduction of free tertiary education, how has that impacted the support that should be going to these institutions?
Look, I think what people looked at when we announced the fee-free higher education is what goes to the students, but we it's a comprehensive intervention. It includes, in the next 3 years, which is the medium-term expenditure, about 12 billion rands that will be going to infrastructure development in universities, and a significant portion of that will be going to historically disadvantaged universities. So University of Venda, University of Fort Hare, Limpopo, Zululand, all of those are already involved in huge infrastructure projects. It could be new residences, it could be new auditoria. The minister and I have been going around the country, inaugurating new buildings and and launching projects to refurbish old ones, and that's the intention. One of the things that we should not repeat, which we did in 1996 when we introduced our macroeconomic policy, is to cut spending that's directed towards education, because what it meant was that the cost of education then increased quite significantly, and parents could not afford. And that's why you had 2016 with fees must fall. But not only that, but universities could not afford to run themselves if they did not increase the fees. So we're beginning now to help universities meet the cost, help the students meet the cost. And part of the things which the minister is driving is standardizing the cost of education. So, if your grandchildren now, if they go to if they go to WITS, they'll pay differently compared to if they go to University of Limpopo for a law degree. Now, those are some of the things that we want to deal with, because the state is paying.
But it's also the the disparities between the two institutions. See,
yes,
yeah, I mean, the one university is at another level.
Yeah,
let's say WITS, and the other would be what? Outside the top 1,000 in the world.
Most definitely. Yeah. But I think, that myth, and it's not something that I'm celebrating, but I'm raising it, to deal with that myth. I mean, just recently, we had to help the university, UCT, to deal with its law degree, for instance, because there were challenges with its quality and the output thereof. But what we're doing now is we are directing most of our resources to historically disadvantaged institutions so that we uplift their quality. But we found out also that most of the costs that are imposed by your top universities, so to say, are sometimes actually unreasonable. So we also need to deal with that.
Buti Manamela is the Deputy Minister for Higher Education in South Africa. We'll be discussing the fourth industrial revolution as promised, and of course the challenges facing young South Africans today. How do we help them access jobs? And take part in our conversation. The hashtag is the Modise Network.